Hello my dear sewing friends, it's Alisa here and welcome back to Hack My Clothes Kids Edition. And this is where we talk about very simple techniques that anybody can master in order to freshen up and extend the life of your kids' clothes and hopefully save you a little bit of money in the process as well. Now today we're going to be talking about cuffs, and usually you can find cuffs on sleeves in garments like jackets, hoodies, sweaters, long sleeve t-shirts and whatnot, and you can also find them on the bottom of the pant legs as well. Now I find that cuffs wear out quite fast, and this is not only a great way how to freshen up a garment and replace the cuffs that stretched out or got snagged or got ripped, but this is also a great way to make the sleeves or pants a little bit longer for your growing child and therefore extend the life of the garment. Now we really don't need much for this, but we will need some fabric, and usually cuffs will be made out of knit ribbing, or you can also use just regular knit fabric as well. It just depends on what you have and how stretchy it is, because ribbing is quite stretchy, so you want something that will have a little bit of give because the cuff is usually smaller than the actual sleeve. You can also complete this by using 3 different techniques depending on what you have. Number 1, you can actually do this entirely by hand, and if I were you, I would do a blanket stitch. Number 2, you can use a sewing machine, and there you want to use a stretch stitch, something like a zigzag or a lightning stitch. Or number 3, you can also use a serger with just a regular 4-thread technique. We're going to start by removing the original cuff. Here you can go 2 ways. You can either take out the stitching or you can simply cut off the actual seam. Today I'm opting to cutting the seam off, but remember that doing so will make the sleeve a little bit shorter. So if it's absolutely essential for you to preserve all the length that you have, then opt for taking out the stitches instead of cutting off the seam. And of course, whatever we do on one side, we will repeat on the other side as well. Next, I'll grab the ribbing that I have chosen for the new cuffs. The direction of the stretch, or the direction of the greatest stretch, is very, very important. As you can see, it stretches really well horizontally, but it doesn't stretch as much vertically. The horizontal stretch is gonna go this way, or this way on the sleeve. Next, I want to make my cuff twice as long. As I mentioned, I want to not only to freshen it up, but also extend the length of the sleeve. For that, I'm going to fold my ribbing like this, creating a nice fold right over here. You can eyeball it or you can measure it. Take the cuff, place it right over here, approximately twice as long, plus the seam allowance. Seam allowance is the needed amount in order to connect the cuff to the sleeve. For the width, we're going to measure the actual sleeve. This one is again about 3 inches, and as I mentioned before, we want the cuff to be a little bit narrower than the sleeve itself. So instead of going for 3 inches, let's go for 2.5. So we want 2.5 twice, so right over here, 2.5. 2.5 twice is 5. But we also have to add seam allowance, and we're going to add 1/4 inch for each side. We have 2 sides in order to make a tube for the cuff. So 1/4 inch for 1/4 inch is half, so 5 plus half is 5.5, and that's how we're going to cut. This is the beginning of our cuff. Next, we want to bring the long sides, in my case, again, the direction of the stretch goes this way. We want to bring these sides together, right sides together, like so, and then sew it with a stretch stitch. I do have a serger, so that's what I'm going to be using today. Now please don't worry, all of the steps are going to be exactly the same. You just replace where I use a serger with hand sewing or with a sewing machine. For example, on the sewing machine it would look like this, and obviously I used white thread so that way you can see a little bit better. Now we have 2 tubes sewn. Take each of the tubes and make sure that you fold them wrong sides together, like this. The cuff is smaller than the opening of the sleeve, so we will stretch the cuff gently as we sew it and attach it to the sleeve. Now, in order to make sure that it is stretched all nice and even throughout, what we can do is make a little snip right over here across the other seam. So this marks half of the way, and we're going to do the same over here. So fold it in half with one seam being on the bottom and snip right over here, just the tiniest bit, which also makes half of the way. Now we know to align the seam on the sleeve and on the cuff and the notch over here and the notch over here and stretch in between. Next, take the cuff, place it like so over the sleeve, making sure that the right sides are facing. Align the seam with the seam, and if it makes it a little bit easier for you, then put a pin in it. And then align the notch with the notch. And again, if it does make it easier for you, put a pin in it. We're going to be sewing in the round, so let's head to the serger or a sewing machine. I personally like starting right here at the seams, so I take the pin out and I place it right underneath the serger presser foot. Now, whether you sew by hand on a sewing machine or serge, make sure that you adjust as you go, catching all 3 layers in the seam. After you are done, just tuck in the loose threads and that's it. As I mentioned at the beginning, all of the same steps are going to apply if you need to replace cuffs on the bottom of the pant leg. Now, if you want to see more hacks to extend the life of your clothes, then click right over here. And if you need more confidence in working with your serger, which is absolutely great when you're sewing clothes for kids, then click right over here. I have a full dedicated series with step-by-step instruction and problem solving and troubleshooting that is going to give you the knowledge and confidence that you need. So click right over here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon on Sew and Grow. Bye!